The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And the X Zone is coming to you tonight around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and on Channel 54, which is the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. My guest this hour, X Zone Nation, is Dr. Christopher Macklin, and he is a paranormal conduit, remote viewer, spiritual healer, and author. So, Dr. Christopher Macklin, I want to welcome you, sir, to the X Zone. How are you tonight, Doctor?
Oh, thanks, Rob, for having us. Wonderful. It's great to be here.
Doctor, tell us a little bit about yourself and what started you on this journey, this fascinating journey that you've had over the years. It's almost like a crusade. So what started you off, sir?
It is a crusade. It was nuts, you know. So basically, when I was 4, I realized I could see beings like reptilian things in the room. And I remember the first, Dad, there's a reptilian. Well, I don't know, it was a reptilian, but like a dragon thing in the room. And he comes running up, and where is it? I realized very quickly he couldn't see these things. And so, moving forward from the age of 4, I learned to manage them and get them out of my room just by the power of, map of intent. So anyway, moving forward, I saw craft in the sky, things like this. Realized that most people can't see them. So then, of course, you get into the matrix where, you leave school, you get a degree, you get a master's. I work for avionics systems. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely not. I thought it was dreadful. But it was one of those things that, I'm earning loads of money. And I used to look around thinking, is this it? Can't be it,
Right.
Is this it? I'm going to work, I'm getting a paycheck, paying the taxes and doing the same as everybody else. And then in 2007, my whole life collapsed, went completely bankrupt, marriage split up, everything went pear-shaped. And I was kind of living out of a car. No, it was actually, what a blessing, honestly.
Really?
This was a blessing, So anyway, I'm living out of a car and feeling sorry for myself. Where are you, God? And, there's nobody here. And, as I think we all go through the dark night of the soul. Yeah. If you're a starseed person, you get to the lowest point, and then suddenly I think, well, no one really cares. I better start caring about myself. And so gradually I start taking my power back and realized that I had some amazing gifts. So I spent a 4-year journey meditating, understanding. I went to Belize, I went to India to really understand how these gifts work, the healing gifts. Realized I was born as a Melchizedek being, of which there's 5 here, just to help the planet, And anyway, came over to America, set up a healing center. Nothing happened. I thought, this is strange, build it, they'll come, they keep saying. They didn't. So, where are you? So I remember saying, okay, God, this is not funny. Where is everybody? It's within. Get out there. Oh, okay. So out I went, and suddenly everything took off. I mean, we work on thousands of people a week. It's a very successful healing ministry. We back up a lot of different people like psychiatrists, psychologists who are missing some of the elements of mental health. And, we work with a lot of people and just help them get better from all sorts of diseases,
So something that your publicist sent us over that kind of piqued my interest is that you're a member of the Galactic Federation. Now, what is that?
There's different Galactic Federation. Well, There's different federations. I mean, there's Palladium one, the Council of Nine. I was born as Melchizedek being. I chair with 2 other Melchizedek beings, the Galactic Federation that police the 3rd dimensional space-time continuum, and they do a lot of other things. like, for example, when the Greys were violating people and they were abducting people, to me, think about this, Rob. There's a very close call between violation and education.
Sure.
When you come down here, they kind of show you what it's like, maybe a video in the mind, and, there's reptilian people, there's Luciferians, there's all this demonic stuff going on. And of course, you're in the God realm. Well, I'll do it, And so then you come down here, you think, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? this place is nuts, but I do love it. I love being here. So basically, the Galactic Federation polices certain things, and there's a lot of beings involved with that. And for example, the Greys, we were looking at violation education. So if you come down here and for example, if you look at Jesus' teaching, I'm not a Christian, but I love Jesus' teachings. You talked about demonic attachments. Now,
right.
There's various ones like Luciferians, Anunnaki, Draconians, and they can attach to you and they can affect your health really badly and send you negative thoughts. You think they're your thoughts, you get depressed. Is that a violation? No, it's an education, because you knew before you came down here that these things are here, and it's learning to manage them and remove them out of your life, with the power of, in quotes, prayer or map of intent. But when you get Greys, the Greys who were, starting in Hitler's time, and did a deal via the Paperclip project to abduct people and steal egg sperm because they've made a mess of their own planet, so they want to create humanoids. Is that a violation? Absolutely. So they were ordered off the planet I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I was at the actual meeting. It was June of that year. So yeah, I get involved with that.
Some of the books you've written or articles that you've published, including Calming the Mind, Healing Chronic Stress, Depression, ADD, PTSD for Children and Adults, History and Truth and Healing, Manufactured Diseases, HIV, AIDS, Agent Orange, Gulf War Syndrome, Morgellons, and Lyme disease. Morgellons, I remember years ago talking about that nonstop, and bang, all of a sudden, nobody talks about Morgellons anymore, or what is known as the fiber disease. What happened with that, Dr. Macklin?
Oh, it's rampant.
Really?
But yeah. I mean, the CDC only. I was working with a world-leading industrial toxicologist, because you have to understand when you're doing healing on things, it's no use just, well, I'll send you a bit of energy. It doesn't work. In my opinion, you've got to understand how this disease works. Now,
right.
Morgellons particles are particles bound with different elements, like, for example, graphene or carbon-60. It's bound with things like nylon 3633. It's bound with silicates. It's got microchips, 10 to the -9 picochips inside it, so it can transmit. It can, and it's also bound with Borrelia, which is the stealth pathogen of Lyme disease. So these things are biologically alive. But they grow through the body. What do you need for growth? You need carbon, you need oxygen, you need water.
Sure. Yeah.
And of course, these things have got that. Now people say, well, how the heck do you grow plastic in your body? And the answer is, well, it's bound in a certain way that this nylon's instruments grow, and that's why we've got problems today with myocarditis and all these things. It's prevalent, it's real. So
is Morgellons, the fiber, is that part of, could that be considered nanotechnology for some nefarious reason?
Oh yeah, it's all nanotechnology. They're so small. I mean, 10 to the -9 small. You need an electron microscope to see them. DARPA developed this technology, and now they actually grow them. You can't, because they're so small, you can't really manufacture them. So what they do is they grow these things in a certain way, So it's an incredible, scary disease.
Who is responsible for it?
The Greys gave us the technology when they did the Paperclip project. And what's happened is that it's been developed in America, of course. And now a lot of people have got, they put these nanotech, they call it smart dust, but they put it in the chemtrails and it goes in the body. So, and you think, well, hang on a minute, it's in the body. Why don't I have Morgellons when other people do?
Right.
The answer is that it depends on the DNA. If you damage the DNA with agrobacterium, it's in GMO foods or it's in, vaccines, whatever. You can damage the DNA and allow this stuff to replicate. So some people get Morgellons, some people don't. So it's a crazy disease.
I understand that you yourself are an abductee. Tell us about your abduction experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when I go to the Galactic Federation, they normally take you and they take your soul because they're going to a different dimension somewhere, so the body might not sit well in a much higher dimensional system. To me, there's ultimate dimensions, but some of these happen in the 12th dimension with the Arcturians. So what happens is basically they kind of take you out of your body on an umbilical cord, and you go off. You're at the meeting, but you're not present. And it's interesting because when it happens, they normally give me 5 minutes notice. So you can lie on the bed and you're out because you're in a coma until your soul returns. But one day I remember they didn't give me 5 minutes notice.
Oh.
I didn't get near the bed, and I was collapsed on the floor. And my wife's going, "Oh my God, he's had a stroke." Oh, hang on, he's gone to the Galactic Federation. And I was there about 20 minutes, just going around. Yeah, we did it. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting, thing.
I would imagine that AI and nanotechnology is a very hot topic these days. How can you best explain to our audience what AI is and what a nanotech is?
Yeah, they're not dissimilar. So AI, artificial intelligence, is things like, when you go to the social media platforms, of course, they've got algorithms, they've got face recognition. They listen to what you say on your phone. So suddenly if you say, well, I need a Chevy car, you'll find adverts coming in your feed for a Chevy car. But the facial recognition is kind of scary because they can alter your face, they play, and people think it's fun. But to me, it's desensitizing humanity to reality. It's the same with pornography sites. That desensitizes people to love. It's just an act. And I think it's kind of sad. It needs some regulation. So you've got AI in that, and of course you've got robotics, where people have, a sexual partner, or they have somebody to do the work in the house. Does that desensitize? Of course it does, because there's no love in these things. It's missing the biggest instrument of all, love. Which you can't. To me, you can't create an algorithm to create love.
I remember talking to a guest years ago, and we were talking about what's it called? Reality? Not reality, but oh gosh, they go on the computer and they enter this world of virtual reality, and they marry people in virtual reality settings. They send money to. What is society coming to when you have to, or you want to partake in a virtual reality setting, an entirely different person, a different marriage, different children in a virtual world, and then return to the world of reality where you have the same? How do we explain this? Why do people need to do that, in your opinion?
I think, to be honest, Rob, I think people escape. I mean, people often ask me, well, why do people take drugs? Why do they do crazy stuff? And the answer is that, to me, we're failing in this world, because this world is not good for people at the moment, and it's going south. I mean, I think we all know that. And I think we're failing people because they're looking for an escape from this matrix system, as I call it.
Right.
Because it's not a great place to be. I mean, I'm hypersensitive, I was born as a starseed. There's 400,000-ish starseeds on the planet. And, of course, they've come down to help humanity. Now, of course, they're attacked by entities. They're hypersensitive, they're empaths, so they take a lot of emotion on. So we do a lot of support to try and help these people take their power back and get out there and help humanity, But it's a tough place to be.
Especially these times. Dr. Macklin, please stand by. You and I have to take our first break at Exo Nation. Dr. Christopher Macklin is our special guest. His website is globalenlightenmentproject.com, and the good doctor and I return on the other side of this short break. Don't go away. Dr. Christopher Macklin is our guest, and Doctor, we were talking about AI and nanotechnology before the break. How are we being exposed to it? We mentioned the algorithms on the phone, on certain computer softwares, computer platforms, but how else are we being exposed to it?
Well, there's two ways. One is, of course, chemical trails,
Right.
which are in the sky. I mean, people may say, well, you got a tinfoil hat, they don't exist. Well, all you have to do is look up. There's tons of them. And we've analyzed what's in these chemical trails, and there's nanospheres, and there's also nanotubes. And, what happens again, they sink through the skin. Now, if they start replicating, they start to assemble themselves in the body. And another way is obviously vaccines. I don't know if we can talk about that, but
Sure.
that the technology in the vaccines now is nanotubes, nanospheres, and maybe I can go into it a little bit because I think it's quite important if that's okay.
Sure it is,
And
sir. Sure it is.
it's also got CRISPR technology. So what they've done is, instead of agrobacterium damage the DNA, what they've done is, if you inject yourself with this, whatever you want to call it, vaccine in quotes, the CRISPR technology splices the genetics to damage the DNA, and then what happens is this stuff starts to assemble itself. Like I said before, what do we need for growth? Carbon, water, warmth. It's all in the body, and that's why people are getting myocarditis, because it's assembling around the heart, it's assembling through the arteries, it's assembling in the brain. So it's basically the same thing as Morgellons. But it does assemble, and a lot of people are getting into trouble with this thing.
So, in your opinion, the use of vaccines during the COVID pandemic, was that a legitimate vaccine, or was there some nefarious reason why the masses were basically forced into being vaccinated?
In my opinion, I think it was a complete hoax. A complete hoax. I mean, the PCR test doesn't work. They did 70 cycles, which means that you're looking for dead RNA, so then they force you to take a vaccine, which is a bioweapon, in my opinion. Again, it's got the nanotechnology tubes and spheres. We've analyzed these things. Now, why did they put tubes? Well, the graphene oxide tubes, again, bound with all these nylons, bound with silicates. They have CMOS, complementary metal oxide chips, assemblies inside them, so they can transmit and receive frequencies, so they can get you on the internet. And that's why people have, used like Bluetooth. Wow, I can get myself on Bluetooth. My body's kind of connected. It's crazy. The nanospheres are different. Nanospheres, what they are is you can load them with up to 92 viruses, and each virus, it's like having a football and drilling a hole in 92 holes in the football, putting a virus in, cover the top, and it has the ability that if you send it a signal, a particular frequency, you can release one of those viruses. If you send all the signals, you can release all 92. So that's also in the thing. So you have to step back and ask yourself, why did they put these in? And the answer is, well, I'm sure we all know why they put them in. So it's a crazy thing. It's Morgellons, just more advanced than it was before.
All right, let's just address the elephant in the room. Why do they put this in? Why are they infecting us? Why are they putting all this? Well, why are they putting Morgellons into us? Why do they need to control us? And who are they?
Well, the deep state, the communist parties, they want to create the one world order, control everything. You'll own nothing. They want us also, you can probably see in the news, they want us to eat bugs. Well, not eating bugs. I like meat,
Yeah, so do I.
But we're not eating crickets or anything like that.
Hell no.
Absolutely not. And I think it's to depopulate. I mean, there's a lot more people, Rob, there's a lot more people have passed with this vaccine than people realize. And it's interesting because I became an American citizen in 2018. And I remember part of the education was, well, there's 363 million people in America. Okay, so I was led, my guide said, why don't you look at the population? And this was about 3 months ago in America. It was 328.2 million. So you think, hang on a minute, We've lost over 30 million people. Where have they gone? And you can see it. I went to Best Buy the other day because we could help some people out who didn't have a cooker, and we're a charity. So we bought them a range, each. And, I was talking to the Best Buy, but they said, we can't get staff. There's nobody around to work. And I thought,
that's right, yeah.
Well, that says it all. So it's coming out. We have analysed this. I mean, I'm not just speculating the fact that, it's nylon, it's this and that. With the good lady, Dr. Hildy, who is a world-leading toxicologist. She's taken DARPA to court. She's taken the Vatican to court.
Yeah.
If we give you examples, she had 6 nuns. They were all dusted with smart dust nanotechnology. Yeah. And they all got sick with a different virus, which is really interesting. So, and it was a drone, so she showed up and she had the evidence. So there's a lot going on.
Sure. We've had the pleasure of having Dr. Staninger on the show a number of times. A great lady.
Yeah, she's a great, great lady. She's retired now, though. God bless her heart.
You're kidding. She finally retired.
She retired.
God bless her. God bless
I love that lady. She's amazing.
She is. We talked about Bluetooth very briefly. What's your take on the 5G technology?
To me, it's not a good frequency because it's a frequency that when you apply it to the body, the body detoxes really quick. So you get altitude sickness symptoms. And that's why I think a lot of people are getting altitude sickness. But plus the fact that, of course, all these nanospheres, work with the 5G technology. Plus, the nanotubes transmitting through frequencies, they've got sensors on that can tell whether you've got different compounds in your body, how fast your heart rate is, if you've just had sex. They can monitor your whole body. Neurological activity. It's a bit crazy.
But if the only reason for this that we know, Doctor, is population control, why would they need so much data?
I just think they're like monitoring to see how effective their instruments are when they're in the body. Because they can tell whether you got myocarditis, if your heart rate changes. They can tell sexual activity because it's also got the proteins to sterilize people. It's very interesting. And, people often say, well, why don't you just detox it? Just detox it, with herbs. You can't. Why is that? Because all this stuff is growing through the tissue. So it's not separate from the body. That's hence transhumanism. What's transhumanism? Well, when this stuff goes to the body, you don't become a normal human being, become transhuman because you've got nanotechnology that's grown right through your whole body. And that's the thing about the Morgellons. But the other thing, if I may point out as well, if you damage someone's DNA, when you're born, you've got an egg. Gets fertilized, becomes a fetus. Now, you've got 3 months to get a soul through. So the soul comes through, bonds into the fetus, becomes a human being. But the light body of that soul is compatible with the DNA of that fetus. What happens if you change it? And this is what we're finding. What happens when you change it? The light body is not compatible with the soul. So the soul lifts out the body. And so people become a little bit kind of checked out. Aggressive but checked out because it means other beings can come in the body and do what they like, and it's difficult to manage that. So that's a bit of a crazy thing that's happened.
Stand by, sir. We've got to take our midterm break, so to speak. And Exonation, our guest this hour is Dr. Christopher Macklin. And for more information about Dr. Macklin, visit his website, globalenlightenmentproject.com. This is the X-Zone. We'll be back on the other side of this short break. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. And the X-Zone is being brought to you by our good friends at Beautiful Mind Coffee. Visit their website at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. And watch out in the Toronto GTA area, the Niagara area, as well as the Golden Horseshoe, for special events being held by Beautiful Mind Coffee and local stores that are also going to be able to sell you this wonderful coffee. www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Dr. Christopher Macklin is our guest. And Dr. Macklin, I've got a question for you that just popped into my mind during the commercial break is, why doesn't our body reject the intrusion of these compounds that are being introduced to us, but through the chemtrails?
Through the chemtrails, it does, and I think if you've got a healthy body and your DNA, RNA, and therefore immune system is really, really robust, it will. But the problem is that with the CRISPR technology and this new vaccine, damage of the DNA, therefore the RNA is damaged, therefore the immune system, so it's not having the response it should do, and that allows all this stuff to replicate. I mean, what we're seeing is that the immune system is reduced to about 20% of what it should when you've taken these jabs, and people are getting cancers. I mean, I had a client 4 years ago, had cancer, we got rid of it, gone completely. She took the jab within 4 weeks. That cancer went back so aggressive, she passed within another week,
Oh, no.
And it's showing you that, obviously the immune system's not taking care of business, so it's interesting.
But how come the medical community hasn't caught on to this yet?
A lot of them have. I mean, we speak to a lot of doctors. I work with some really top doctors. There's some in New York. There's actually some in Germany, different places. They have. But of course, you've got to remember that everyone dies of a coded death in hospitals, gets $30,000, for every patient if you write down COVID. And so there's definitely a monetary manipulation in this whole thing, in my opinion.
Do you think that China is responsible for the COVID virus?
My feeling is that the deep state, I think China's part of it. I think the Biden administration, I think Obama, all these people in America. I mean, if you look at what they've found in Ukraine, 48 bioweapon labs that were doing gain of function. Now, that's been submitted to the United Nations, but again, no one's talking about it. They seem to want to cover everything up, and it's kind of sad. So,
what is your feeling, or what is your take on the introduction of all these robots and robotic? How should I say it? The quest for robots to replace humans, as well as the people who actually want to have their soul, their spirit, their very essence put into robots so that they can live forever. That sounds a little archaic to me, and I think that if this is happening, science has gone way too far.
I agree with you. I think science has gone way too far. I mean, my opinion, if you look at all this technology and what's happening, and they're trying to now push, electric vehicles, why, I don't know, because they're not eco-friendly at all. They're toxic. The batteries are toxic. Apparently, it takes a mining of 700 tons of material to produce one battery, and then you've got to plug it into the grid.
Yeah,
and that's powered by what? Coal or nuclear or something. So we're not really gaining anything. And I think it's just a instrument to try and get us into a Green New Deal, Great Reset. It's what it is. Control.
So what do you think the most devastating aspects of the AI transhumanistic agenda is?
Well, I think the most devastating is that they're trying to desensitize us so much that we'll get a chip. You get a brain interface. It'll connect on neurons and the neural pathways, and so you can actually use your mind to do things. But to me, I think you're right, Rob. It's gone way too far.
Yeah.
My opinion is that I think we need to take our power back. We need to get our countries back. From these globalists, and I believe we should go back to things like Native American ways, where you've got a chief of the state, he's not paid off, and you've got a medicine man, and people are going back to growing their own food. We've detached from the whole of nature and everything. I think we need to come back to the simple ways of life, and move away from this technology. I know people argue, say, well, it's here, we've got to embrace it. No, we don't. You know, we're human beings, and one thing that you can't get from AI is that feeling of love. You know, that's right. God connection. You'll never have that. You know,
so in your opinion, sir, how can we, the humans, how can we counteract what the deep state is trying to do?
I think what we've got to do is stand up and voice our opinion. I mean, the problem is, you know, there's a lot of election fraud and different things, so it's difficult to vote somebody in, you know, and have a fair election. But I think the more people stand up and say, "Hey, we're not putting up with this anymore." I mean, look at Brazil. You know, they're taking their power back. They've got rid of a deep state politician, and you know, the military are backing them. And I think, you know, we all need to stand up. You know, I think. Not violently, just look, we don't want this anymore. We don't want you in. You know, it's like in America, we've got the Constitution. If you're not abided by the Constitution, which you gave an oath for, you need to just go and let's have someone who is. You
know, you and I have been fortunate. I guess we can call it that, because we have been exposed to, and we know what we're talking about tonight is true. We've seen the evidence. We've talked to the people. But how do we convince those who have not had the opportunities that you and I have had and many others have had? Mind you, we're the minority, not the majority. How do we convince them that what we're talking about is real and is not science fiction?
Well, I think the exposure, you know, there's certain exposures that happen on Twitter and on Truth Social and on different platforms. Little by little, things are being dripped out and they're starting to come to fruition, and I just think it's going to take time. And Rob, you know, if you told the average person in the street everything that's happened, including the child trafficking, you know, what's happening with the royals in England, what's happening with the deep state, everything, you know, chemtrails, you know, people often say to me, there must be something that's not hijacked, and let me have a think. That'd be nothing. Everything's hijacked. You know, even the private Western Central Bank, you know, that's hijacked. You know, they're printing money that's, you know, that's worthless. You know, so when you look at the whole thing, you think we're in a bit of a mess right now, but we'll be okay. You know?
Do you think that we're in the biblical times of the Book of Revelation, as written by St. Paul?
I do. Yeah, I think definitely there's biblical times, and I think, I mean. You know, if you look at humanity's timeline, the AI one to me isn't good at all, because it's going to connect us all on the internet. I think, you know, if we keep going the way we are, we'll probably lose 80% of the population on the planet, and then, you know, people will be in control. You know, they'll put robots to do the work. You know, you'll own nothing. You know, you'll be eating bugs. You know, you can't spend your money, etc., etc. You know, and I'm not eating bugs. I promise you, I'm not eating bugs.
You and me both, my friend. You and me both.
But we are in the biblical times, and I think, you know, but I think there's a big element to me. The Akashic records have got different timelines for humanity, and I think it's up to us to try and help people wake up and try and support them, because, you know, the average person in the street, when they hear, you know, when you say, well, there's child abuse on a scale where, you know, believe, oh, no, not in America, no, you know. And then you say it again, after the 26 2x4, like whack, oh my God, there's terrible stuff happening in dumbs underneath the planet. And, you know, it takes a while to wake people up. And you know, all we can do is just drip feed them. Because I think if you told everyone everything, they wouldn't believe you. They'd say, oh, Rob, you're just nuts, you know.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. But if you drip feed them little by little and give them something to think about, and I think that's what's happening. People are waking up slowly, but waking up.
All right, stand by, Doctor. We've got to take our final break. In Exo Nation, our guest this hour is Dr. Christopher Macklin, and his website is, you ready? Got your pen and pencil papers? All right. globalenlightenmentproject.com, and we'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And welcome one and all, humans, non-humans, and transhumans. Our guest this hour is Dr. Christopher Macklin, and his website is Global Enlightenment Project. Dr. Macklin, we talked about a star seed earlier in the conversation. How does somebody know if they are a starseed?
Well, it's interesting. I work with a lot of starseeds, and the first thing they say is, well, I don't recognize this planet. I don't fit in here. I don't behave like the normal human being, like the normal behavior. They feel very different. They see things very differently. And so if you feel as though you're isolated and you have no friends, well, you're a starseed, because most starseeds don't have many friends at all, because, the things they talk about,
Right.
people think, oh gosh, you're a wacko, and but what I would do is, if you feel as though you're a starseed, go with your intuition. And go through the different starseed races, like Palladian, Arcturian, Lemurian, Atlantean, Andromedan, Lemurian. If you go through them and see which one you resonate, but I would ask, where's your soul from, rather than where am I from? Because all our bodies have got bits of DNA from all of them. So if you say, well, am I Palladian? Well, kind of. Arcturian, oh, kind of. But if you say, where's my soul from?
Right.
Then you'll find out, because I think it's important, Rob, because, to me, one of the healing things with the Melchizedek beings is that I never wanted to learn anyone else's methodologies, because that's their understanding of their gifts from their off-planet beings. So to me, it was very important to learn completely from the Melchizedek beings and get a fresh take on cause and effect of all different diseases, and
As an abductee and someone who deals with abductees, why do you think NASA has now decided to go back to the moon?
Interesting question, because I know that there's activity on the moon. There's beings on the moon, and I think why, I actually don't know. It's an interesting question, because I know they were warned off the moon when they first went the first few times. That's why they haven't been for a while.
Right.
Maybe that the deep state and these politicians and different beings have done deals with them where they can actually go back and they'll accept them for coming there. I mean, one of the biggest things, if I can mention it, if I may, is that people think, oh, it's the deep state, it's the Biden administration, it's the puppet masters, it's Obama, it's all these other politicians and everything else that are in control of this. They're not, they're puppets. The biggest beings that are in control of this are the reptilian elements underneath the planet. And a lot of these people are reptilian hybrids. They have no soul. They don't care whether people live or die. It's all about power. It's all about control. It's nothing about anything else. So that's one of the problems with this planet.
Where do you think the Vatican plays in this humanistic transhuman AI world that we're seeing being developed?
Oh, they're part of the whole thing. I mean, to me, the Queen of England was the head of the Illuminati. She's passed, she was a reptilian being, again, my opinion, connected to the Vatican. The Vatican worship Lucifer. They won't tell you that, but, the Luciferians are actually beneath the Vatican, and it's a satanic instrument, in my opinion, and again, people might get upset by that, but, you can see all the satanic Luciferian symbology in the actual Vatican itself, the serpents and everything else. So, yeah.
My final question for you tonight, before we have to say so long, is: do you think that alien, UFO, ET disclosure is at hand?
I do. I think there's that much activity because there are, good beings that are helping us through this. And very often you might say, well, why the hell do you need them? Why don't you just go away? Well, the problem is that if you look at the way humanity's navigated this planet over the last, 10,000 years, it's going more south to the point where we're poisoning it, and I think we need a little help to get out of this, in my opinion, In
my opinion, we need a hell of a lot of help.
Because, we're getting it. No, you will.
We've screwed up this planet more than I think anyone ever thought we could. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who is a member of the clergy, and I said, if Jesus Christ was on his way here and he took a look at what we were doing, he'd just say, not this guy, and take off in a different direction. First of all, Dr. Macklin, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure.
Rob, thank you so much,
sir.
Bless your
And
heart.
let our listeners know how they can find out more about you and where they can buy your books.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to globalenlightenmentproject.com, if you want to come for healings, we do a healing by donation, which is basically if you have no money, you can come on 3 times a week. That's Monday, 9 a.m. Central Time, Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time, and Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time, because it's very close to my heart
Sure.
that everyone gets a healing. Because, if you've got no money, and I've been there, I've been living out the car. So just go to globalenlightenmentproject.com. The books are on there. And come for healings. If you need help, we're here,
Let me ask you, what is the Global Enlightenment Project?
The Global Enlightenment Project has been set up. It's part of Christopher Macklin Ministries. That's what I set up originally. It's a charity.
Right.
The Global Enlightenment Project basically is a project where we're building off-planet pyramids, and we're going to place them down here. They're actually going to be somewhere in America. I can't tell you over the air where we are. But the reason why we're doing them, one's 1,000 feet tall, 6 feet tall, 3 feet tall, and they're actually going to power up and help flush out the ley lines of all the satanic symbology and everything else, and help raise the vibration of the planet. So it'll help eradicate the reptilian and Luciferian element on this planet. So that's interesting.
You've got a task in front of you, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Macklin, again, thank you so much for joining us, sir. I hope that we have the pleasure of having you again on the show.
Love to come back.
And until next we meet, to you and your family, the very best of the season. And thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you, Rob, as well. You do amazing work. God bless you.
God bless you too, Doctor. Take care of yourself. Exonation, our guest this hour has been Dr. Christopher Macklin. Once again, his website is globalenlightenmentproject.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break at the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And don't forget to visit Beautiful Mind Coffee at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca.